Here's how it started. A rain of broken crystal, my knees on cold marble, and a man with a face from magazine covers looking at me like I was a secret he'd already solved. Asteron Grand Chicago. Chandelier's String Quartet. The kind of laughter that says we own the room. A young server clipped a shoulder, 6 flutes met. Gravity champagne flashed like sunlight on water, and I did what I've done since I was big enough to hold a rag. Get low, move quick, make the mess disappear. I looked up and met the eyes of Cole Whitaker, Northline Systems' tailored charcoal reputation for vision. And right over his shoulder, the host, Brett Lang, whispered something with a grin that made my skin go tight. Later, Cole found me by the service cart, voice pitched low like we shared a secret. We both know why you're really here. I laughed once. It sounded like a hiccup. Then I said what was true. I clean floors, I go to class, that's it. He glanced at the cart like it was a prop, doubt flickered. Then Brett floated past again, and the door in Cole's face shut. I walked away before my eyes gave me up. In the break room, Ms. Dot pressed a paper cup into my hand. Old wrists, kind mouth. Baby, don't let anybody rent space in your chest. I said I was fine. I wasn't. But rent is louder than pride, so I finished my shift and went home smelling like glass cleaner and quiet anger. What I didn't know. Cole pulled investor-only camera feeds, watched me work when no one was watching, saw me wipe a tear with the back of my glove, and keep moving. The next morning, he showed up at my mom's food cart on 18th hands. In his pockets, like a man practicing humility, said my last name, Soft Morales. Sure, I owe you an apology. No, if you were offended, no throat clearing. Just I was wrong. Then he offered help, and my spine stiffened. I don't do charity, I said, and I definitely don't do pity. He asked what repair would look like, so I named it. A paid internship in community partnerships, so I can learn without drowning a foundation scholarship processed like any other student, and hard lines that don't blur in the dark. No side doors, no special treatment, no meetings that don't live on a calendar. If anybody pushes past the line, I'm gone. He said, understood. And for the first time, I saw the difference between power and accountability. Northline's glass campus in River North felt like another planet. Quiet carpets, plants that never wilt. My desk was a hand-me-down that hummed when the computer fan kicked. I loved it anyway. My manager, Kendra Holt, ran on fairness and caffeine. Walk me through your brain, she said, eyeing a wall of binders that smelled like dust and good intentions. I dug for a week and found shelf after shelf of almost after-school labs designed and never funded storm drain sensors that would have stopped our neighborhood from flooding last spring, microgrants that could have kept 10 corner stores alive through a slow winter. I built a deck with 3 projects that were cheap, measurable, and fast. Kendra put my name on the exec calendar, not hers. In that room, people didn't waste words. Cole at the head like a man who knows where the exits are, the directors with watches that could pay our rent for a year, everybody waiting to be impressed or annoyed. I spoke like I was talking to my neighbors on the stoop. This costs X, serves Y, families, returns Z in goodwill and pipeline. And you'll see the truth on a dashboard in 90 days because we'll publish the numbers where you can't miss them. A director leaned back and asked who I thought I was to talk about brand value like I'd been around the block. Someone with a mop who has eyes, I said. Half the faces went cold, the other half woke up, and the pilots passed by 3 votes. Winds landed quick. Sensors in streets draining after rain, kids in a lab with laptops that didn't crash, microgrants that turned 3 layoff stories into 3 ribbon cuttings, with grandmothers crying into church fans. Kendra bumped my badge to coordinator. My mom cried into the pozole, then told me, keep receipts like the IRS lives under the sink. We didn't talk about that ballroom night. The bruise faded but never left. And then the holiday party rolled around in the same space because life has a cruel sense of humor. I almost bailed. Kendra said, "Press is coming, you need to be seen." I wore a navy dress I bought on layaway, and across the room, Cole saw me mid-sentence and stopped. "Do you dance?" he asked. "Not really." "Me either. Maybe we can be bad together." We were careful, spaced between us hands exactly where HR would want, and still the air crackled. Outside by the valet line, breath-fogging winter in the bones, he said, "I wish I could delete what I said that first night." "You can't," I said. "Maybe I can outnumber it," he said. The kiss felt like the first rain after a long drought, soft than everything. I pulled back. "This changes everything." "It already has," he said. Yeah, that happened. Rumors move faster than truth in any building with a badge reader. A new analyst joined our team, Eli Park. Smart, funny, same South Side shorthand. We clicked over spreadsheets and slang, and people made it dirty because that's what people do. An anonymous email hit HR with allegations mixed like cheap cocktails, part fiction, part malice. Cole called me in jaw tight, said, "This isn't about trusting you. It's about you not carrying this alone." I told him it sounded like jealousy wearing a tie. He winced. "Maybe a little. I'm working on it. And also maybe we tell the truth out loud and set real guardrails." So we did. The next morning he sat beside me and said the quiet part clear. "Yes, we're together." It didn't start when she was hired or promoted. "Yes, we're changing reporting, so she answers to a board committee, not to me." It wasn't romantic. I was grateful for that. And Kendra squeezed my shoulder and said, "Now they'll watch, give them something worth watching." If you want to know when I knew it was real, it wasn't the speech. It was a Sunday at the Garfield Park Conservatory, Cole's 9-year-old June, asking if I knew a paper airplane that loops. I knew 3. The far one, the loop one, the one that looks like it shouldn't fly and still does. And when she hugged me at the end, like we'd known each other for years, I looked up and saw a man with no armor. Moving in wasn't simple. I told him I won't live in a museum and pretend it's home. He surprised me, said, "Then let's find a place that belongs to who we are now." We found a brick house in Ravenswood with sunlight in the kitchen and floors that creak where the good stories live. We built an in-law suite for my mom because I don't plan to unlearn the sound of her laugh at dinner. Family on purpose, rice and beans next to steak budget spreadsheets, next to finger paint paper planes on the coffee table next to a 10K. At work, the projects kept winning because we hired people who listened before drawing maps. Eli and I became a team people trusted, and one afternoon he stood at my desk and said, "Sorry for acting weird, dumb, crush, smart conscience chose the conscience." We fist bumped and went back to the deck due by 5. The proposal wasn't fireworks. It was soup and a Tuesday in June banging a spoon as a drum roll. Cole went to a knee with a ring that looked like something my grandmother would wear to church. Understated right. He talked about light and second chances and how apology is a verb, not a speech. I said yes because the man in front of me wasn't the guy who misread me on a ballroom floor. He was the one who walked into my mother's world, took off his coat, and stayed long enough to learn how we eat and why we sing after a bad day. Backyard wedding. Under string lights that flickered. Kendra cried. Eli brought a date, who became a friend. My mom danced with everybody. June carried the rings with shaking hands and a fierce little smile. People at work stopped whispering as much when they realized I still showed up early, left late, and answered hard questions with harder data. Respect isn't handed out in memos. You earn it one boring, consistent day at a time. A year later, we welcomed Lena. Cheeks, lungs, joy that rearranges you're tired. On quiet Sundays, I watch Cole toss pop flies to June, while my mom rocks Lena and sings a song from another country. And sometimes he slips his arms around me and asks the question you ask when you've survived something together. Are you happy? More than I thought possible, I say, and still learning. And then life reminded us the story isn't over. A blog ran a headline engineered to travel rags to riches, or carefully staged climb. A board member who never liked the community budget started asking loud questions about optics and whether my face in the C-suite sends the wrong signal to investors. HR did the audit. Dates, emails, restructures. Clean. But narrative is louder than spreadsheets. You know what I mean. We've got a shareholder meeting next month, and part of me wants to let the work speak. Another part wants to take the mic and say I was on my knees in your ballroom, cleaning up your mess while you laughed, and on Monday I came back to fix the stuff you couldn't see from your SUV. Which version do you want to be true? Because the one you choose is the one you fund. That's my story. Messy where it needs to be soft. Where it's earned it carried by the same thing that carried me that night on the marble. Dignity you can't rent and won't sell. If you've ever been misjudged at a glance or had to rebuild trust after breaking it, I want to hear you. Is sorry plus real repair enough, or does the original wound always pulse under the paint? And when love crosses money lines and age lines, is that growth or convenience? Tell me what justice looks like at that shareholder meeting. Cut the budget to make a point, or fund the work, because it's right, even if it isn't pretty on a slide. Drop your take, your story, your lesson in the comments, and if you've ever mopped a floor while someone mistook you for less than you are, remember, your name matters, your work matters, and the way you carry yourself, when nobody's clapping, might be the bridge you walk when the lights finally turn your way.